Well, hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another bonus episode with me and Mr. Fisher. What's up, Mr. Fisher?
I am surviving the week before reopening. No,
Yeah, we are literally surviving the week before we reopen MFF. This is getting recorded on the 22nd. Today's 22nd, and we're reopening on the 28th. You'll probably be hearing this shortly after we reopened, so you'll hear in the news whether we're still alive
right.
afterwards. Yeah, for sure. It's both fun and exhilarating and exhausting and maddening. It's all those things.
Yes.
Yeah. But today we thought we'd just jump on and give you a quick one because we actually skipped a week. I don't know if you all noticed, but we skipped a week. Sorry, but we're back now. That's how busy we've been. And we thought we'd just kind of talk about a topic that I think we can give to you in a few bite-sized chunks. It's really kind of our framework for customer service at Marck Fisher Fitness. Let me do this, Fisher. Maybe I'll just give what the framework is, and you can maybe fill in some of the gaps for how we apply it and think about it.
Sure.
That sounds great. So the way we think about it, we call them the super service principles. And this is just, I think, a bite-sized framework that you can use and take back to your business immediately. It's kind of 3 tiers. The foundation of this pyramid, so to speak, is the idea of kind of nailing the basics of customer service, right? Giving all your clients the things they always will want but will never ask for. We'll talk about some examples of what those can be in a gym. That's nailing the basics. That's the foundation. As you work way up the pyramid, the next level is really about making it personal, like meeting each client where they're at, giving them their own unique experience, treating them how they want to be treated. And we'll talk about ways that we do that. And then the peak of this pyramid, the kind of the standard that we're all reaching for is creating magical wow moments. And for us, we talk about that as being able to kind of surprise and delight our ninjas with things that go above and beyond their expectations, that they weren't expecting, that can't be predicted. And that's an amazing thing to do and really hard for lots of reasons. So Fisher, you want to just talk a little bit about the basics and what we consider the basics?
Yeah, the basics are best appreciated as the things that you can't really market, but if you don't do them, you'll run into issues.
Yeah.
So the offensive metaphor I often use, if you're a hotel, you can't market the fact that come to our hotel, the towels don't have much blood on them. The expectation is you will not serve bloody towels to your guests, right? So now that's an over-the-top example, but the reality is basic things go wrong all the time in the service of traditional training gym. Things such as starting the session late or billing your client incorrectly, or even on the sales marketing front, not responding in any kind of prompt or at all follow up to a prospect or a lead who's reached out with interest about the business. So these are the things that are just in the world of the base expectations of what people expect from your business.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and the one at the top of the list for gyms is cleanliness, right? That your marketing headlines ever gonna be like, come to our gym, we clean it a lot. It's like people expect that. Come to our gym, the equipment works, right? Come to the gym, the temperature is a reasonable a reasonable degree, right? That these are the basics. No one's going to call you up and be like, hey, before I come in, you just confirm, do you have lockers where I can put things? So it's like, well, they're just going to expect that. And if the temperature's not right or it's not clean or there are no lockers, you will hear about it. And so I think as a first step there, if you and your team are not clear about what the basics are, those need to be crystal clear. And those need to be standards that get put in place that you all hit 100% of the time, at least strive to hit 100% of the time, because that's how we deliver our services. Yeah. How about make it personal? You want to share some ways how we think about this, ways we do it?
Yeah, I think the most obvious one is making names a cultural obsession in your training gym. At MFF, we are famous/infamous for being super obsessive about names and using names. It's something that is remarked on constantly. And in a preview of one of the perils of the make magic, the third super service principle, the one thing I will warn you is what will start as a holy cow, I can't believe this place is so personalized, will soon become an expectation, which means it will start to feel like a basics to your clients. And it is remarkable over the years, the consistent feedback we get by people that are just wowed at first, how much they feel seen, how hard the staff works really to know them as individuals. And if we ever do not miss that mark, if, for instance, there's a training session and there's not a lot of specific technical coaching and feedback and meaningful personal engagement, including names, the ninjas will remark on that in feedback, and that will be we will looked upon poorly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that the kind of mantra, or the dictum that I remember at this level is just treat other people how they want to be treated. Right. I mean, that's what make it personal means. It starts with knowing their name, starts with then knowing, and then it continues with knowing their preferences. How do they like to be treated? What pronouns they like to use? Do they like to rack their own weights, or they like when you do it? Do they like to be motivated in front of a group or quietly to the side? Like, what are their preferences and how they want their experience to go? And that's something that you only get better at as a team or as individuals by actually asking those questions. So I think at this level, this is where a lot of coaching skills come in, of asking open-ended questions, of really listening with a critical ear, of acknowledging and validating. So I think at this level, you can only make it personal when you actually ask people, what do you prefer? How do you want me to treat you? And then listen, make notes if you need to, have shared notes, and then do what they ask. Treat them the way they ask to be treated. And it sounds really simple, but it's not, especially if you're doing some volume,
Yeah. Yeah, the volume piece is a real challenge, because frankly, this is a huge advantage that a more traditional training gym has, where if you've got 100 to 150 clients, you might be able to get your arms around that in an organic way. If you become a behemoth like Mark Fisher Fitness, the challenge is you really need sophisticated, what are called CRM, customer relationship management software. You really need to have systems that these things are written down and logged and referred to. So if you look at hospitality, which is where we've stolen many of our ideas, because they do customer service at a very high level, particularly in luxury hospitality, they have these over-the-top software programs that really log and track everything that needs to be recorded about an individual. I don't think the fitness industry has done a particularly great job of this yet, in part because we have the limitation of, I don't think our software is as good for this. To be fair, if you use, for instance, like MindBody Online or probably any of the booking platforms, there's usually a notes field that most places can be more rigorous about using. But to be honest, it's something I think we're still always working on. How can we do a better job with it? Because once you're past able to do it organically, which most of you listening are probably able to do, you really need to develop systems to codify what are the things that rise to the level of being a note. Is this an alert? How do you make sure the whole team is singing from the same songbook and really able to create the real magic of anticipating what the individual needs, even if you do not know that individual? One recent pro tip, something we've recently started doing, which might sound not particularly mind-blowing, but we are in a very diverse city. So there are a lot of names that are not always immediately obvious how to pronounce. And because we're obsessed about names, I think taking the time to be meticulous, if there's any doubt about exactly how to pronounce that name, write it out phonetically in the notes of whatever your scheduling software is, so that everybody on the team can really honor that individual and not only know their name, but pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, that's it. It's so important when someone gets your name right. It's such a basic thing. When it's wrong, you remember that. You feel the tinge of it. And even when, someone calls me Mike, unless it's like, you, Fisher, or like my brother, someone else accidentally calling me Mike, I'll be like, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, that's not me. It just feels wrong. And it's important. It's a small thing. But at this level of make it personal, it's about having the person feel seen and valued as an individual and served as an individual, and it requires systems and consistency. Yeah. Let's talk about the peak. So the top of this pyramid is to make magic, create a magic moments. Fisher already mentioned that this can be hard because sometimes when you make it personal really well, that becomes a basic. And the same thing is true here. If you make magic consistently, it becomes expected and it's less magical. I'll just use a quick example since we already covered this idea. But it was, I don't know how many years ago this was, but didn't we try to do like a birthday hat? Like every time it was a ninja's birthday, we tried to do like some sort of celebration in the classroom. And there was like a hat that everyone would wear. This didn't last long. And I think it was maybe even a song or something that we played for their birthday. And I remember hearing about it, that we did it only a handful of times. And people were like, can you stop doing the birthday thing? Do you remember this?
I think my memory of it is that actually was a rare moment where we had the foresight to understand we couldn't codify that, where it happened a couple times and it was amazing. And we explicitly were like, that's great. stop doing that, because it's going to become a thing where it's not interesting anymore. Everybody expects it.
So,
And then when you mess it up, now you're like, you didn't celebrate my birthday.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
suck.
So fascinating. Well, either way it went, it's a great example, right? Yeah, when you codify like the birthday song, the birthday dance, the birthday hat, it's no longer surprising and delightful. It's no
Yeah.
longer magical. We've seen you do it 100 times. It's like it becomes a basic at the end of the day. And so surprise and delight, this make magic, it has some degree of spontaneity to it. It can't really be planned. So you want to give some thoughts and examples of what we've seen that's worked, Fisher?
I mean, one of the ones that is a potential takeaway that is used by a lot of training gyms is if you will, a faux low budget Ritz-Carlton move, which is to say creating a monthly budget where individuals on the team are able to, through some system you develop, buy small, meaningful personal gifts to the people in your facility. This could be anything from running to go get them coffee, to buying them a book, to sending them flowers for an opening night, which is probably very specific to MFF, unless many of you also deal with a lot of people that have opening nights. But I think that is a potential useful strategy that a lot of you could apply. And the joke about the system is very consistently, anytime it's rolled out, and we've seen this as well, is the hardest part actually is reminding your team constantly about it, because they'll just forget. And it actually does require, for most human beings, a lot of work to think about what it is you want to get people as a gift. And your team, to their defense, is going to be training sessions. They're going to be doing whatever it is that they're doing. So I think that is an opportunity to create some moments of wow and really give people something that they remember. And if you are to roll out that system, be prepared to be patient, because you will have to be really on top of your team, probably once a month, once every 2 months, to just remind them it exists and give them a moment to sit there and think. This could be a thing you even do in a team meeting, to just actually just think for a moment, okay, what can we do to really wow one of our clients in some way?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's because we're going to make systems for celebrating and recognize our clients when it comes to, hitting PRs or coming to, your 300th class, or, you're making your 500th visit. Like, we're going to often create milestones when it comes to that. So I think often surprise and delight in our space looks like recognizing something that's not about the gym, recognizing the anniversary or that new job you got, or and it could be as simple as a handwritten card, or even an email. I think can be a moment that's surprising and delightful. Even in the course that we do on this topic of customer service, there was an example we give in the slide deck of a ninja who was booked for a class the next day, and that trainer had to be out for a personal reason. I think it was a death in the family or something. I remember the example, and the email that we sent out was more than just the really traditional, your classes, your trainer got switched out for tomorrow. You were with X, now you're with Y. The email that we sent, I don't remember who sent it, was really caring. And it went above and beyond to explain that this person was going through personal things, to send them their love, and that we did our best to get them a trainer and get them an alert right away. Like, the email itself was just full of extra touches that the person didn't expect. And we got a reply back to be like, wow, this email really delighted me. Like, it really surprised me in a powerful way. And that's something that cost us nothing, right? So these surprise and delight magic moments don't have to cost a lot of money. They don't have to be complicated. They have to just go above and beyond what people reasonably expect to receive most of the time. And, an email, a handwritten card, an email, that can do it. A special comment, and of course all the other wild over the top things. They're all, and also, that's the other thing I was going to say was, Fisher, your point about, like, this is something you have to remind your team to do, I think is such a big part of this. I used to have a manager at one of the Four Seasons I worked at, who would just go around every day, and I'm pretty sure he would ask me this question every time I saw him. But he would ask, like, hey, who are you going to over deliver for today? And he would want me to, like, name a guest who was staying with us that I had my eye on, and I was looking for a way to impress and wow, and it was like that constant reminder of, is your team looking for these opportunities? Right. And unless you ask them all the time, they're not, right? It's just, it's not a thing we're trained to do. So I think that's a really important part of this, and something we haven't always been successful at. Yeah. I know we're going to keep it short today, but is there anything we want to add to this topic, Fisher?
I just want to highlight again, I think we've alluded to this, I just want to make sure we say very explicitly. The challenge with the making magic tier is that if you codify and systemize it, it will no longer count as making magic, because over time, you will train your clients to expect it. That's not to say that you shouldn't create systems that create really powerful customer service experiences. But the challenge of that you should appreciate is, over time, if you're doing this well, you will run into the wonderful problem of you continue to raise the standards of what they perceive to be the basic level of service. So you have to work harder and harder and harder to do things that are so wonderful that they're shocking, because they'll just start to be expected. Yes, you always do these wonderful, amazing, thoughtful things. And yeah, of course, I appreciate it. And then if you don't do the wonderful, thoughtful thing that I expected, now it's a missed expectation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great point. And like Fisher said, it's not to deter you from trying and deterring you from creating some systems that help you to consistently think about this and do this. Things like a budget for gifts is a good example. You need a system for that budget and how the money gets spent and all that. But what you spend it on is the spontaneous part, right? And so I think that's a perfect example of what that can look like. All right, friends. Well, in summary, let me just go back and remind you what we talked about. So this is the super service principles. This is kind of pyramid framework of how to think about customer service. Starts with nailing the basics, all the things your customers want but will never ask for. The middle level is make it personal, which is to meet them where they're at, make the experience unique to them, treat people how they want to be treated, make them feel seen and heard. And then the top level is make magic, find ways to spontaneously create surprise and delight for your clients in a way that goes above and beyond their expectations. And if you're unclear about how your team does any of those things, just using this framework for a conversation in your next team meeting is a great place to start. Right, just sharing these 3 ideas, putting 3, big Post-it notes up on the wall, and saying, "Okay, let's make a list. How do we nail the basics? What are they? What are ways we make it personal? What are they? What are ways that we can build surprise and delight and magic into our customers' experience?" Start there, and then you can create SOPs and training around those things. But I think it's a paradigm that's served us well, and I think we'll continue to tweak it and change it. But the framework doesn't change. Framework is the same, but the content, I think, has evolved many times. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Fisher. This is a fun conversation. We haven't talked about this since we probably taught this class last. So it was a good little, 17-minute episode. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Go listen to the rest of the podcast if you haven't caught up recently. And we'll be back again in 2 weeks with another bonus episode. Have a kick-ass day, y'all. Bye, Fisher.
Bye, friends.
Hey friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.